Hello guys, and welcome to a new Warno video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 3 versus 3 on airfield, and I'm going to be playing with the 119th Tank Division. This is one of the new maps that has been added lately to Warno, and I haven't had a chance to show it off yet. Neither have I had a chance to show off the 119th, so it's going to be an interesting, well, I say interesting, an incredible tank engagement today, as we are up against two 3rd US Armoured, which have one of the best tanks in the game, the M1A1HA. So we're going to be trying to use our T80UDs that have all been moved into this division against those M1A1HAs. So that's what we're going to be seeing a lot of today. A couple of Chinooks coming in early on to try and get some forward positioning here. The MiG-29 is going to come in for the strafing run there. Manages to get the stun. I'm trying to stun this one as well. I'm hoping that I can. My Spetsnaz managed to get the job done. I have advanced very fast with a couple of Spetsnaz OP and the Spetsnaz Gru and the Spetsnaz here. Got a Spetsnaz in the town that's also taking on some aero rifles there. But Iglas are going to unload. First Chinook goes down. Second one is still stunned. So I'm hoping that I can get the reload off. All these Igla squads next to their jeeps, going to get the job done. You'll see it crash in the distance there into the hangar. Very, very nice indeed. MiG should have evac'd at this point, but I had it targeted, I believe, towards these CH-47C Chinooks, and you can see it was going to dive, but I managed to get the evac order. Just need to hope that this Igla, or the Stinger, sorry, doesn't hit the MiG-29 and it manages to get out alive, even with a little bit of a scratched paint job there. Anyway, aero rifles taking full command of this town. My poor Spetsnaz squad is severely outnumbered. Tunguska in a bad spot, hoping to get rid of the Humvee, and T80 comes up clutch, kills the Humvee, stops the Tunguska dying to that 80 gem. Big, big win. SU-24 comes in with the LGB there, absolutely blasting the backside of this sector. I hit the attack beacon because I assume that's where his leader was, and just hoping to take that out there. Yeah, the Humvee CP did get bombed, so that was nice. I didn't manage to get my Spetsnaz out of the city, but we do have a decent position here. We managed to shoot down 2 Chinooks plus the aero rifles, which is a really good start. Now we have to look at what Frez has here, or Fresh, I assume it's supposed to be pronounced. We've got a T80 BBK and a T80 UD. Now, unfortunately, the T80 BBK doesn't quite have the same armor that a T80 UD does. You can see the T80 UD has a huge 21 front armor, which is the highest front armor a tank can have in the game. And then we got the T80 BBK that only has 17. So that's why I was struggling against the M1A1s there that do have that 20 penetration main gun. But they aren't going to be able to face off against the T80 UD. Resh knows that he's going to be backing off, and that's going to be the tank engagement for the time being. The T80 needs to stay alive here because it is contesting this sector. Currently we are losing to a +4 from our opponents, as we have not managed to capture this sector just yet, but Pibiyaka does manage to get his Superdikomroti in there and neutralize that advantage. So that's good. They haven't captured this yet. I do need to contest this at some point in Gulf, but it's not a priority just yet. I need to be super careful of this Apache that's hanging about with all of the Sage gems. Look at that. Tons of Hellfires. And then, of course, the flanking potential of those M1A1s. So 2 Tow Cobras as well with those ITOs. Really risky for the side shots. There's a lot of things I've got to be kind of worried about here, and you can see that he's trying to scout a little bit with the transport. But I'm just playing it cool. Got my Tunguska further back. The thing that I really need to do is just consolidate, get up some more defenses while I sneak my Iglas forwards to try and get into range of these helicopters to put pressure on them and potentially shoot them down. It's going to be difficult to shoot them down because the Apache does have 20% ECM. The Tow Cobra doesn't have any, so definitely a better chance there. Igla takes the shots, manages to get the hit. We'll need to land 2 shots because it's only got 4 HE. See, this Cobra there has taken 4 damage. If it can hit another shot, then the Tow Cobra goes down, and indeed it does. Very cool watching that. Enjoyed the effects in this game for sure. So supply truck coming up. I've got a Ural. that will be able to resupply and fix up my TATBBK here. Just going to reverse it into the corner for the time being so that the supply doesn't have as far to go. And the Super RPO are now moving up because I do want to get rid of the arrow rifles on my flank. We need to kind of keep an eye on these infantry units because if they start sneaking forwards to these buildings, for example, maybe even get as far as these tree lines, then there's potential for transport snipes, which I obviously don't want to deal with later on. I've got a Rapira on the way. This is a 100mm AT gun. It does have an HGM that it can fire, so that's the primary reason that you use them. They have been buffed lately. They have much better accuracy than they used to, which is super scary for enemy medium and light armor. Another T80UD on the way though with another Tunguska. Tunguska is really needed here because they do have the 3,000 meter range versus helicopters, which means they outrange the TOW 2 and Hellfires, which is super important. You don't want to be engaging an Apache, for example, which has 2,800 meter range and 70% accuracy, with, for example, Strela, which can only fire at 2,600 meter range, because then you're just going to get your Strela popped by the HGM before it even gets fired. What really depends on line of sight, of course, as well. I can't sleep on my T80PVK here as heavy artillery does come in. Big old rockets flying in and forcing that to move forwards. Just going to tuck it in behind these buildings as best I can. Meanwhile, T80UD trying to find some transport snipes here onto these M113s. Again, still consolidating. Tunguska actually managing to find a missile on target here. Shooting down the AH-1F ATAS would be very nice. Meanwhile, SUPER moving forwards. Since these are arrow rifles, they have relatively bad AT and no sort of range on that AT. So the BTR-60PB just sitting out in the open here is going to be able to get off a decent amount of fire support onto those infantry, and never ever underestimate how effective these APCs are with their machine guns, because they can provide lots of DPS over time. The KPVT in this case, super strong, so definitely worth making use of. Super RPOs trying to get their RPO launcher onto the arrow rifles there do a decent damage. And AH-64 looking to dive onto the T80BBK. Unfortunately bumping into two Tunguskas. Not the wisest of dives. Spetsnaz try and hold the line against the mechanized rifles, but I've got to be really careful of the triple M1A1 Abrams here moving forwards. Check out that formation moving across the airfield there. Very cool. Doing a ton of damage to my Spetsnaz group and the Igla. Meanwhile, arrow rifles are slowly being picked off here. Rockets from Pipiyak are actually going to finish off that squad, which is really nice. Got a couple of Super RPO that are going to be sitting here for a little while. Obviously forgot that they were there, as I am busy focusing on all of the engagements further to the left. Another Rapella coming in, Spetsnaz to go with that, give me extra recon information. Spetsnaz are going to be jumping out of the building. You see I've also jumped this one out of the building, and what I've done is I've clicked on this cog on the bottom right and I've gone to their auto cover and turned it off so they don't jump automatically back into the building, meaning I can use that little building as a line of sight blocker for these Abrams. And now that it's got its stealth back, I can jump it back into the building and get the recon that I previously had. So Superi still moving forwards, revealing the position of the arrow rifles, allowing the T80UDs to engage it, plus the BTR-60 PBs. That's kind of what we're looking to happen here. Rockets coming in once again for the T80BBK, because it's not exactly hidden, it's just out of line of sight to a lot of units that would want to take it out. So, for example, the Apache, which kind of forced him to dive, and the ITOs, but we already shot one down, another one backed off. So, in that regard, we're all okay. Igla trying its best to survive against this onslaught of artillery. Now another one coming in onto my infantry here. But the Rapella going down very, very fast as it is out in the open. 80 GMs from my T80UDs do manage to hit the Abrams in the front arm. It does a decent amount of damage. These do have 21 penetration on that reflex 80 gem. So nothing to scoff at. And he has to respect it. Backing off here. Breaking line of sight using this tree line. Spetsnaz are going to be trying to move up to this tree line so that I can see past it, and then as I move forwards we can get shots off with our main guns potentially, but for now they are just on attack move orders, which is why they are firing away freely. Well, in this case actually it looks like they've moved to where I told them to, but when they're idle they will waste stage gems if I don't micromanage it. Most of the time it's not really worth micromanaging. It's quite easy to get your missiles back on those T80UDs. It happens pretty quickly. T80UD again here, managing to find the P-Vads. Great target actually for the HGM there. Those sort of light and medium targets can get popped very, very easily indeed. You can see my MTLB did make it into the backside of Golf, which tells me that I can probably get some other stuff in here later on. So I'll definitely be looking to do that at some point. But for now, just got to make sure that I don't get hit too hard by the abundance of Abrams coming our way. He's managed to fix up the Abrams that we damaged. He's brought in some new Abrams. He's also got a Bradley to back it up. And Roland here on the right-hand side has a couple of M1 IPs that are hanging out in these buildings. That's going to open up my flank if I push forwards with the T80UDs. We don't want to be hit from multiple directions. And that's something that they've really got to try and do in order to beat the T80UDs. Because the T80UDs do have a huge armor advantage over the M1A1s, the M1A1s have to close closer in order to do damage. But it doesn't matter if you're showing side armor, because they can then engage at maximum range. So what you'll see, and the best way to deal with T80UDs, is to find flanking avenues into these engagements. So far, Fresh just going in for the shot. One of his M1A1s does get low, forcing it to retreat. But I'm going to want to back off. I don't want to let these M1A1s get too close. If I let them get too close, then they are going to be able to do serious damage. Now the Bradley is actually the scariest thing here, because at maximum range it's still going to apply that massive toe-to damage. So I focused both of these to kill the Bradley first, and now I'm going to be looking to try and pick off the M1A1s before he smokes them. I'm hoping that if he has used smoke previously, we're going to be able to then kill them off if he didn't manage to reload it. Now these T80UDs you can see are very, very low, but I've got two more coming in. The BMP-1Ps are trying to put pressure on with the Fago, but the BMPs have now gone down. This T80UD landed a crucial shot onto the M1 IP that forced Roland to smoke that off. Both of these are, of course, very, very low, but the M1 IPs are going to be struggling to be effective at this range with only 20 penetration versus the 21 frontal armor. T80UDs are going to be pushing forwards aggressively now. AH-1F does go down in the meantime as my Iglas in these buildings have prepped up and found the shot. M1 IP hoping for the kill here, managed to find it. That's two Abrams down, plus the Bradley. Really nice engagement. Humvee is going to go down there as well, and we've managed to counteract this push against two of these players going for me with these Abrams, and quite simply just lacking the flanking ability. AH-1F Tow Cobra, it's an ITO, doesn't do as much damage as the Tow 2 potentially would, but still pretty scary. Tunguska, however, managing to find the kill. So, the first of what was a pretty exciting engagement for me to play through. There is more of that to come. I swear to you guys, it gets pretty crazy later on. More artillery coming in. The T-80s do need to be careful here, especially the ones that are damaged. I was convinced he was going to target these two because it's only going to take like one rocket to land on this T-80UD with 3 health, and I'm basically going to lose out. Now another thing to consider when you're looking at the M1A1s versus T-80UDs is the T-80UDs actually have more health. So M1A1s, they have 10 max damage health, whereas T-80UDs have 12. And that's due to the explosive reactive armor. So these the explosive reactive armor that's added to these basically allows them to have extra HP in game. That's how it's represented. All of these are very, very damaged. We're going to have to fix them up. MI8 MTs are coming in. I've got a few of these Urals as well. The Urals are intended to bring the supply further up, whilst the MI8Ts will make like a fob a little bit behind my lines that I can reverse up to, as you can see. So this one's moved forwards. It's going to fix up the T80 BVK and get resupply for the Iglas and so on. Whereas, yeah, these ones are just quite simply there to repair, resupply the T80UDs. A little bit of a calm. I have, meanwhile, managed to get the Spetsnaz and Spetsnaz OP into the backside of this sector, which is going to set me up for getting a leader into there. Meanwhile, an AH-1F going down to the Iglas is nice. Currently a +2 for our opponents. They're still very much in the lead, but great job by Lieutenant Dan on the left side to put a lot of pressure onto Ains. And you can see this M2A2 only a matter of time until that gets hit by an HGM. So all of these T80UDs being fixed up is going to leave me with 4 T80UDs on the field. Having taken out some of those Abrams without losing any of my T80UDs does put me in a big lead in this center engagement. I'm going to continue to build it by bringing in more T80UDs, of course. Rocket fire coming in, looking for my command on the backside of this sector and trying to harass the T80UDs that would have been in this Krieg line. Spetsnaz now moving up to find the recon information, and I'm currently trying to get a BMP-1K3 into this sector to neutralize the +2 that's currently ongoing. Although, it's like I said before, it's only a matter of time until Lieutenant Dan manages to kill this leader on the left hand side, gets his own leader in there, going to give us a big advantage as well. Nice kill there on the left. Now 5 T80UDs ready to go. Just got to keep them spread out. You can see here I'm using the tab key to scroll through them like this, and then I'm giving them attack move orders so that they do spread out nicely, and I'm able to engage the enemy tanks with a wide front. Now it's kind of interesting in this case, because I'm using the best tanks that the Soviets have to offer, I'm the one who has to like spread out my heavy tanks, whereas if I were playing another division like the 7th, maybe even the 39th, I would still want to spread them out, but I'd have more to do so and find those nice sweet flanks. I'm basically spreading out with less numbers than he is, and that's the point I'm trying to make. It's kind of roles are reversed. The NATO in this time, in this engagement, are the ones with the numbers, and I'm the one who has to rely on less. But yeah, spreading them out super important, again, to protect those flanks. So now M1A1HAs arriving on the field, and these are scary because they do have 22 penetration, which means that they can effectively engage the T80UDs at range. And the other thing that they have going for them is that they got 60% stabilizers, so you can get super aggressive on the move with M1A1s. Both M1A1 Abrams and the M1A1HA Abrams. Eagle coming in, manages to find the seed kill there. ATD looking for a free kill onto the M113. Gotta be careful with these mechanized rifles. Spetsnaz are now moving forwards to engage those. All the fire coming in from the T80UD should be more than enough to help out here. But ideally, my Igla should not be engaging. I do have the AK-74 turned off, as you can see, so that it primarily uses the Igla and doesn't reveal itself when infantry comes nearby. But we're able to take out both the mech rifles and the scouts without losing the Igla, so that was really nice. Igla, though, failing to hit every missile so far onto that tow Cobra. M1 IPs from Roland coming across. He realizes that's a mistake as multiple T80UDs start flying HGMs down range. Airborne has got pretty close. They do have AT4s. Got to be careful about that. Don't want to get hit in the side armor. The other trouble with infantry at the moment is their AT weapons cause a lot of cohesion damage. So you can see my T80UD here really struggling. And with all of the artillery now following up, this rocket artillery coming in, getting the cohesion on my other T80UDs, that's a little bit of a problem. This T80UD further to the right is in a tough spot. The motorozvedka briefly saw the enemy leader, so that was nice. Good bit of scouting before they go down. And check out this on the left. We've got the M1A1HAs and the M1A1s moving across the airfield now. We've got 3 of them straight ahead, and we're now dealing with the ones on the right from Roland. Also got to be careful of enemy aircraft coming in. You can see an F-111 coming in for the bombing strike there. I was really scared that that would be a cluster bomber. Fortunately, it was only HE. So get away from that one. Tunguska trying to get into cover here. T80UD looking for the side shot onto one of those M1A1s and almost found it. Now a push coming across from Frej, and the Rapella has some work to do. Misses the shot onto the Bradley. HGM did manage to find at least one of the transport infantry. I'm worried right now that he's just going to try and unload right next to the T80UD or something, using all of this smoke. So a nice use of smoke so far, just to kind of block my line of sight, get his tanks into position. He wants to be close in order to engage the T80UDs effectively, and then just use his numbers to win the battle. Now on the left hand side you can see that Lieutenant Dan did manage to capture both of those sectors, pushing us to a +8 in this game. Absolutely huge. T80UD having to deal with the TOW2. TOW2 really scary for me to deal with in this position, because if these M1A1s push in right now, I could easily take side shots. So a big push is going to initiate. The T80UD is trying to get as much fire downrange as possible. Spetsnaz getting taken out. All of my Igla squads have been killed. The Motorozvedka are going to go down. T80UD takes a side shot from the TOW2. Going to be losing that M2A2 Bradley. Does get killed off on the backside. I do have the Rapella over here. And we got the Rapella here still. So if these M1A1s start to continue their way down the airfield, it is going to be a bad time for them. T80U also on the airfield, waiting to take them head on. I'm going to try and make sure I show you off the Su-24M. The two 1,500 kilogram bombs are massive and really scary for them. I'm going to try and hit this blob. T80UD currently trying to get as many shots on target as possible. Going to be forced to use its smoke. I've managed to take out at least one of the M1A1s. But here comes some Black Hawks. They're going to be trying to land right in my face. Su-24, here we go. Boom goes the M1A1. And look at that big kill onto the M1A1HA as well. Unfortunately, they're both going to get shot down because they turn like an absolute truck. But meanwhile, the Black Hawks have dropped a bunch of aero rifles right in my face, and the Tunguskas, because of the smoke, could not get shots on target. This is looking very precarious for me, as they are pretty much going all in here, but we managed to find the side shot onto the M1A1. If these M1A1s had just pushed through with the infantry here, I'd be in a really bad spot, but because he's continuing his way down the airfield, he is being picked off by the side shots. That's something that he really needs to try and avoid as much as possible. Tunguska going to get some shots onto the Black Hawk on the way out. Mechanized rifles actually not lasting too long once the smoke clears. Spetsnaz going to be able to engage the fire team. The T80U shooting in from this side. I've got the Rapella there as well, getting HGMs on target. We've got 3 T80UDs coming in from Lieutenant Dan. MiGs are going to be called in to deal with the Black Hawks, hoping to try and stun them and shoot them down before they land. MiG-29 not able to quite get there in time. And whilst the Black Hawks are going to get killed off on the ground, I do still need to be careful that I don't let them get too close. And it's absolute chaos here as the T80UDs continue their engagement. against this infantry. They're trying to advance into the fire of multiple tanks. It's really not going too well for them, as I have managed to spread out enough to basically make this smoke a lot less effective. This time around, the F-111 not going to be able to escape. It's only HE bombs. Do have to be a little bit careful of the cohesion that it can cause, the cohesion damage. Here comes more of these Black Hawks looking for the ability to land behind my T-80UDs using smoke and then get the 84 in the rear armor, but the Tunguska's got me covered. T-80UD going to be backing off as the Black Hawk goes down. Now the Tunguska direct firing the aero rifles to death as the smoke clears once again, providing good fire support. So bloody RPO going to be moving back through the smoke as well. The main thing I need to do is just keep them stunned as much as possible, keep their cohesion low so they are inaccurate with their AT, and I can just sit here and tank them all day while my NSVT machine guns plus the main gun HE tries to get the job done. And all of these air rifles now disintegrating, and my opponent is going to call it. The airfield scattered with the debris of dead tanks and Bradleys, APCs of all kinds, the bodies of the American airborne scattered across the airfield, and craters absolutely everywhere from the huge rocket artillery that's been used throughout the game. We're back to a +8 as we do manage to neutralize the leader on the backside of Golf, and we've also neutralized the leader on the backside of Delta, or maybe the AI moved them out, I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, we do take full control here in the center. On the left side, Dan did get pushed out of his positions, but it's not going to matter, as we are absolutely carving up the remaining units here. Pipayaka having a huge engagement through the industrial complex up against more of the airborne troops. But that's going to be it. That is GG. The first game on airfield that I will bring to you guys. Absolutely incredible one. Really, really awesome to see that huge M1A1 tank push, the smoke push coming in with all of the helicopters as well. Crash really, really tried to make that work, but I just had all of the tools that I needed to stop it. It was pretty precarious for sure. If maybe Roland had come in the flank with the M1 IPs, I would have been in trouble, but Pipayaka had my flank covered, so that was really, really good of him. And Lieutenant Dan did a fantastic job on the left side, getting those sectors early on. But in the end, 6,775 kills, 3,220 losses. The D80UDs here doing incredibly well. Killing the Bradleys with their HGMs and such are super important. The Tunguskas, of course, vital role in this engagement. Really, really important also for shooting down helicopters with that extra range that I explained. But that's where I'm going to leave it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this intense battle on airfield. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.